Well, before the break, we were talking about the role that traditional healers can play in tackling mental health. Well, let's get the other side of the story. Reacting to that call that traditional healers and psychiatrists should work together is Dr. Mvoko Gogo Majola. She's a holistic spiritual healer, mentor, and member of the African National Healers Association. Let's find out from her about the role that healers can have in helping people cope with mental health challenges. Dr. Mvoko Gogo Majola, thank you so much for your time. We just heard from a psychiatrist saying that traditional healers have a massive role to play in filling the gap. What's the traditional healers' take on their role in the fight against mental health?
Kamaku to everyone, and Kamaku to you guys, and thank you for having me. The role that we play as traditional healers or as indigenous healers, it's a role that it has been there for a long time for us, whereby it's not only us who can be able to work on this. We will need to work together with the assistance or with the intervention of the Western medicine at some point. But our role makes it clear for us that we are able to identify and also segregate the kind of mental illness that a person has, because looking at our state of understanding what is mental illness, we find that sometimes mental illness can be confused with somebody who's spiritually has a calling. And sometimes you find that the person is spiritual beings are not aligned. Then it leads to somebody to be depressed, and it leads to somebody to have a lot of anxiety because there's certain aspects that are not aligned with them in their whole being. So our role then would to be to say we can then be able to intervene in terms of being able to provide the necessary I would say medication or medicines, at the same time provide the necessary support in terms of from the spiritual realm, because we are the holistic ones that are healing not only the physical, but we also deal with the spiritual aspect.
I've heard many people say that, well, you can't really go to a traditional healer for something like anxiety or bipolar or depression. They feel that traditional healers are not equipped to diagnose those problems, and that it's immediately going to be blamed on something spiritual. And you're saying that's not the case at all.
Yes, that is not the case at all, because the reason I'm saying that is because from our side, looking at our history, such names as depression and anxiety are the names that we never really have, even in our dictionary, to say. We would say when somebody is anxious or somebody is depressed, they are tired or they're overwhelmed by the current situations or whatever that they're going through. We always look at the root cause of why the person is feeling like that at that moment. And that's why they feel and think that we cannot diagnose such. Because when you find that somebody's depressed, you find that the root cause for their depression at that time, or for them feeling sad or down, is because there's problems, there's say financial problems, or they're going through some turmoil in their lives, and then it leads to that. So for us, then we are able to say, let's go to the root cause of why are you feeling like that. Then we deal with it. We don't just quickly just say, now this is the end result and this is how you feel and that's how we're going to treat you. So we always find that we start to the root cause, and then we were able to deal and also diagnose the person and be able to prescribe the medication that we can. However, now in our days, we find that as we progress with interactions with the Department of Health, we have then discovered that at some point we will need to work together with the Department of Mental Illness and also the Department of Health, whereby we can be able to say, let's work together, and where we can have access to where the people who have been diagnosed to be mentally ill, let's have an access to those facilities, because when we're there, we'll be able to identify and also engage with those people that are classified to be mentally ill. Because sometimes others, they are classified mentally ill, but only to find that they have to go through a calling. So we have that ability to be able to segregate the two, to say this one needs a particular treatment, this one needs a particular attention in terms of spiritual calling. So it's not always necessary that when a person is mentally ill, then they have to twasa or have to acknowledge that they've got a spiritual calling.
How do we get more collaboration going? How do we get more transfer of knowledge between the two different bodies, and what are the barriers that you're seeing right now?
The barriers that I would say the challenges, or say when you say the barriers, I would say the challenges is that with our herbs, we have to go through certain tests and verifications for us to say we can give this particular herbs in the mental sector or in the Department of Health. So that is where the challenge comes in, because we have there are some of the healers who have used our indigenous herbs independently without them being gone through under the testing of through the Department of Health. And some people have been healed through that. They ban certain herbs, they make them to inhale certain herbs through the snuff, and they also help them to drink certain things. But at the same time, now, if we're to say now we're going to use the same methodology within the health sector, it gives us a bit of I would say a bit of a challenge, because we'll have then to have tested these products or these herbs so that they can be trusted by the Western side. So I think another barrier is that at the same time, most of our African people, would say our indigenous people, we still not have a clear understanding as to say how best can we take care of these people who are mentally ill, because you find that some of them, they'll be chained from their homes, some of them they'll be closed up in their homes. So that's where I say that the collaboration or the integration with the Western medicine or Western ways of doing it under the mental health, it's also important that let's work together, because in their mental institutions, they've got a way of how to handle these people. They've got a way of how the environment has to be. So with that being said, we need to collaborate as indigenous healers and the mental institutes.
Well, thank you. I think there's quite a consensus between the two bodies that more work needs to be done together. So here's hoping that going forward we see more of that collaboration. Thank you so much for your time, traditional healer Dr. Mvoko Gogo Majola, on the work that traditional healers can do in the fight against mental health illness.